Okay, hi, I'm in the Lexus ES, and next to me, see, this is Japan's best for a luxury car, right? And next to me is Europe's best. Let me turn the camera a little bit. Oh yeah, that is a Rolls-Royce. And it's not just any Rolls-Royce, it is a Wraith. You see, when you buy a Rolls-Royce Ghost or a Phantom, it means it could be your company car, the car that you use to fetch your customers, your clients, or your business partners, or your chauffeur chauffeuring you around. But when you have a Wraith, a two-door coupe Rolls-Royce, what does it mean? It means you might have another Rolls-Royce. This is just your weekend car, your daily, the one that you drive yourself. Anyway, back to Japan's best. Alright? This is Lexus. Lexus is Japan's best, but this is the ES. This is what we would call a strategic product for market penetration. You know, that's the resolution. And when you come here, look at the high res on the left side and look at the low res on the right side. Extremely low res. Not sure why. See, even the windows, when you come up towards the end, it slows down. That's Japan for you. Like how they close their wooden doors. You know, that Japanese culture. When the windows go up until the very end, it slows down a little bit then before it goes in. Yeah. Okay. So what is this? The ES. This, if I'm not wrong, is the 4th generation Lexus ES. The first generation, there's a Toyota version called the Wyndham. The Toyota Wyndham, right? That was the time when the LS is called the Celsior, the LX is called the Cygnus, and the GS, which wasn't called GS back then, was called, oh yeah, it was called GS already, was called the Aristo. And the IS is called the Altezza. And of course the SC is called the Soarer. That was an era where Lexus exists in every other country across the globe except Japan. So they haven't entered the Japan market. In fact, they only entered the Japan market, if I'm not wrong, roughly about 10 years ago. So back then, every luxury model that Lexus sells all over the world, there is a Toyota version in Japan. Because we have to understand, Toyota in Japan is like Mercedes-Benz in Germany. They are the de facto car maker. Basically, people don't mind when they see a Toyota van, a Toyota forklift, a Toyota garbage collecting truck, and the Emperor's car, the Toyota Century. Yeah. Japan is Toyota and Toyota is Japan. So that in Japan, Toyota can sell anything they like, just like how Mercedes-Benz can sell anything they like. Just like Mercedes-Benz can sell anything they like in Germany. I see an advantage with sunroof. I can see a lot of times when you are the first in traffic on the traffic light queue, right? You can't tell whether the lights have turned green or whatever. Now I know. I drive a little bit up front. I can see the traffic light through the sunroof. So how does this car drive compared to the previous ES? It's different. yes, it's different. And this is a good and bad, in my opinion, because with Akio Toyota's instructions, every single car that comes out from Toyota or Lexus must be exciting to drive. And this car handles really, really well. It has a tight chassis, it handles great, you can go from one corner to the next without the car, and basically it will leave the previous ES for good in the bends. Okay. However, it carries the same drivetrain. It is still that smooth 2.5 V6 engine, and oops, turn the wrong signal again. And this creates a bit of a dilemma for me in terms of identifying the character of this car. See, by making it sportier, they made the steering wheel heavy, and it's rather heavy. It's artificial. It's artificially heavy, and I find myself needing to use a little bit too much strength to manhandle the steering wheel for what the car is. You see, the car has a very relaxed character in terms of the drivetrain, right? It's smooth, it's nice, and then I would expect the steering wheel to correspond in the same way, light and easy to steer, basically using one finger to turn that type of steering wheel. But this is a tight steering wheel. This feels like the type of steering wheel where you dial it up to Sport Plus and it tightens the steering wheel, it makes it heavy, and of course it's artificial and it's a bit too heavy to my liking. And if I go to sport mode, I see a different color dial, I floor the throttle. It is an okay 2.5 V6 to be honest, but putting this engine into a car of this size, it also means that the acceleration is just alright. You know, it's not crazy great. The brakes are great. Alright. The car accelerates, the engine is smooth, and it handles really well, and it pulls. But you can tell underneath all this manufactured drama, the car wants to cruise. This is a car that is not made to be driven like this. It was not made to do this, even though it could. But what it really wants is for you to go back into normal mode, or eco for that matter, and it just drives smooth like that. That's the ES. Right? That's how it drives. Suspension and all that is alright, it's good. But in this time and age, with the 5 Series having such a sophisticated suspension system, in terms of pliancy, I'm sorry Lexus, you're good, but it's not as good as the 5 Series. The 5 Series just soaks up everything. It's just so pliant, so comfortable. Whereas this guy here, in your normal mode, there's no comfort mode, there's normal. I presume normal is comfort for Lexus. The steering is slightly too heavy. The car just feels as if how do I put this? It feels like you're wearing your dinner shoes to the park. There's just a bit of a mismatch there. I mean, if the whole thing is just smooth, soft, rolls, and soft steering wheel, then I get it. I get the comfort, you know. But even if I dial back to normal, the steering wheel is still heavy. The suspension is still, in terms of travel, I mean, there's no bump stop, but by no means there's bump stop. You see, I'm in normal mode now. I can do a fast direction change, no drama. The car handles. The car is so good in its handling. It's tight, and that's where it's not frustration, confusion comes in for me. Yeah. So yeah, but there's one underlying trait that nobody can argue. if you want to buy a luxury car and you do not want yourself to go through any of the little hassle of having niggling issues, certain things that needs to go back to the service center to do a claim on this thing, some wiring issues there, some sound issues here, which is very normal for sophisticated, expensive cars, because they just have so many components inside the car. There are so many things fitted to the cars, right? So if you don't want any of those problems, your best bet is always a Lexus, because their QC is second to none, right? And they only make their cars in Japan for the Asian market, right? They don't assemble it elsewhere, because only a proper trained Takumi, can put together a cabin as well finished as this. So craftsmanship, no arguments there. Japanese is just great. All right, let's go into the details and we talk through some of the things that Japanese might not still be best at yet. All right, and some of the things that they're really, really good at. All right, so that's the Lexus ES. Smooth going car, not very powerful, and unfortunately the 5 Series, the E-Class and all that, they deliver very, very comfortable ride as well. So the competitive advantage of a Lexus ES has it been diminished to just being reliable? Yeah, if that's the last thing that you're left with, then it's a bit worrying, right? So let's park the car and we go through the car. Cheers. Okay guys, now to do the walk around review. But before that, notice when I switch off the car. Wow, that's Japanese omotenashi. Okay, let's go out and have a look at this car. Just look at it. If you're interested in the Lexus, the 1 million ringgit, 1.3 million ringgit Lexus LS, let me tell you, this is a bargain, because this is 1 million ringgit cheaper than the Lexus LS, but it looks 95% similar. Okay, it's a very, very good looking car, very evocative styling, and if anyone who bought the previous Lexus ES was thinking of an upgrade, and then they look at this car, they're like, wow, that's a bit too aggressive for me. Yes, it has a very, very striking and aggressive front end. Let's have a look at it. Look at these headlamps, man. This must be the most angular, aggressive styled headlamps ever. Okay, but it works, The funny thing with the Lexus design language is that these kind of design, making the front end sharp and all that, is what we call predictable car designs, right? However, Lexus have stayed true to it, adamantly hold on to it, and just continue and continue and continue on. And then, of course, with the introduction of the spindle grille and all that, now Lexus sort of owns this look. Any car maker that tries to make their cars look this way, with all the lines flowing up to the front, with a very sharp end, sharp headlamp, other people would just call it out, hey, that's copying a Lexus. But actually, this kind of design is not new, but Lexus stayed on to it, and it is aggressive. In fact, this type of design, if you show it to the Europeans or the continental Europeans, they might be taken aback by it, because look at the way this part is styled, right? They could have ended the chrome strip here, but no, boom, they went all the way up. Okay, there's another line that comes down here, and then the headlamps. I mean, you could have done it like that and just call it a day off. Nope, they make it like that and take the trouble to match all the lines and all that. And then down here as well, There's nothing here. There are no elements here that serves any purpose, but then they added a chrome strip and all that. There's a lot of this kind of stuff there to make the car look and feel aggressive, in your face, and evocative. And I think it works. If you look at it from a holistic manner, look at it from a totality manner, and not look at the individual parts. If you look at the individual parts, you'll be like, ooh, what's going on? Ooh, what's going on? What's this? What's that? You know? And then weirdly, there is a rounded line. See this one? This one that comes down like that. Let me use another. See this line curves here? It actually completes a round over there. Interesting design choice. And then from up here, you can see that Lexus would emblazon here. And then down here, you have these slim LED clusters that was first debuted with the LC 500, and they managed to put them into their other cars now. Okay, very slim housing, not easy. Then you look at the side mirrors. This again came from those concept cars as well that they built. Look at that, the way it's styled. Everything is just swoopy and curly, and then just lines and lines and lines, right? And here, a very sharp crease line that runs here above the door handles, in between the rear door handles. I mean, these are normal styling cues that a lot of car makers has been using, right? And then the chrome strip here, and then the back here, you have what looks like a very pronounced ducktail spoiler, but it's actually not a ducktail spoiler. And this part looks like the bangle butt, but it's not. I mean, if this is longer, then it would have been a bangle butt, but they sort of trim this part in so that it looks like a normal boot now, with a very large spoiler from the video, in the pictures. And then of course in the LS you have this dripping thingy that comes down just like the LC 500, but on the ES it doesn't. So actually, in terms of design, the ES is cleaner than the LS. Okay, reverse camera here, and then let's look at the boot. Where's the boot release? Okay, it's here. Power boot, of course. And this also uses the swan neck mechanism, but there's a cover here, and then there's a motor inside. Okay, other than that, it's just a big boot, but it's not very tall. In terms of the height of the boot, it's not very tall compared to others. Okay, and you have this where you can hook up here. Whoops, supposed to hook up here. And tire is down here underneath this. Oh, yep, it's a full-size tire. Yep. It's not a space saver, it's a full-size tire, and the whole kit is there. This looks rather rudimentary. Other than that, you have some hooks over there. That's about it. That's the boot. Okay. Alright, so press the button. See, towards the end it slows down and goes in as well. So yep, the exterior design. This car is larger than the 5 Series, is larger than the E-Class. And it has a very nice proportion actually. If you look at it this way, right, it looks, you can't really tell whether it's a 5 Series segment car or an S-Class segment car, because it's almost as long as a 7 Series or an S-Class. Yep, it's just so long, so spacious inside. Alright, front overhang, rear overhang, this whole styling has been balanced really well, in fact. Right, it has a very nice proportion. It doesn't look bulbous in any way. Okay, then I was in the front seat just now. Let's come to the back seat first. Okay, so I said that this feels like a short wheelbase 7 Series and S-Class. Why? Let me show you. Okay, look at the amount of knee room I have with the seat in front. And in fact, look at that. Try and do that in your 5 Series. in between the center console and the aircon vents and the rear seat. Try and put your feet there. I have size 11 feet and I can place my feet here. Okay, that's why I said that this is even more spacious than the short wheelbase 7 Series or S-Class. You see, if I put my feet near the base of the seat, I still have a lot of room before I reach the rails of the seats. So it's extremely spacious behind here, and the leather feels good. It's a very spacious car. And then if I put this down, look at that. Do you get something like this in your 5 Series or A6 or S or E-Class or Volvo S90? You don't. And then you get a full compartment that is covered in carpet or felt, and then a proper one. So this car blurs the boundary between that of a 5 Series and a 7 Series. So you're paying 5 Series money for 7 Series interior space. And you can't argue with this, you know. You can just sit here and do this. And I can slouch and do this at the same time. And then look at the headroom that I get. See? So it's just so comfortable at the back here. It's unbelievable. Alright. And what kind of prices are you paying? 330,000. 330,000 for a car that actually gives you the kind of riding position, seating position like that of an S-Class or a 7 Series, except the part that you can't recline your rear seats. And of course it's not as wide as an S-Class or 7 Series, but the room here beats any 5 or S90 or E-Class or A6 by far. Right, it beats them by far. Even how the aircon vents are placed. You look at an ES, you come into an ES, look at this part where the aircon housing was made, you know, the little paneling here, and then you go into an E-Class and check it out. Right, this feels just so much better. You have two fast charging USB here, 12-volt socket over here. I don't see anything inside here. And then for here, you can control the radio, the volume, power it on, and oh, can I? Serious? Okay, I got it wrong, guys. I can recline the rear seats. Oh my god, just like an S-Class and 7 Series. Alright, and then just like an S-Class and 7 Series, I can also do this to let the boss enjoy. So let me try and do this first. Let me put this back into where it should be. Okay, while you guys enjoy seeing the interior of the car, and let me start the car. It's getting warm in here. Sorry. Damn, this car surprises me. That makes this car a bargain. Okay. Let's say I'm the boss. Alright? I am the boss. And I come in here. What I'm experiencing now is the kind of room that I get from an E-Class or something. Okay, maybe slightly more than an E-Class, but more or less the same. Alright, you can see me now. So now I'm the boss. What I'm gonna do first, of course the driver can press this for me. And let's see. Holy. And then I can do this. Guys, this is proper S-Class 7 Series territory. And you only need to pay 330,000. Of course, this is manual. This is... damn! So, if you are the boss of a very successful
a company that was funded by venture capitalists. This is what you buy in your Series A funding. Yeah, I mean, if you reach your Series C, then you can buy an S-Class maybe, but your Series A funding, you can buy one of these. It shows that you're a prudent boss sitting at the back here, reading your stuff with your driver there, and you're enjoying the kind of riding experience like that of those top-rated German luxury cars, but you're in an ES. And in fact, I think I have more room at the back here than the LS. That is weird. See, I don't have to argue anymore whether this car drives like a 5 Series or whatever or not. The moment I do this, or my wife sits at the back with the kids and they have this kind of space, it's like, what else do you want? Come on, I can hire. Okay, let's say your budget is 330,000, right? You can buy an A5 Sportback or a 3 Series or this car or a Volvo S90. But then when you hire a driver, you're like, are you gonna let your driver ferry you at the back of the 3 Series? No, right? But there you go. Damn, that's a lot of room. Let's continue the review. I'm amazed. And I think Lexus is very smart in doing this. However, with that very elaborate center armrest, it's literally impossible to have anyone sitting comfortably in the middle. Kids, yeah, maybe. You see, you still get a lot of room sitting in the middle, but you're basically up about 3 inches from the others who gets to sink into the seats. Now let's look at the front, shall we? This feels great. It's a single piece metal. Very nice. Not solid metal, but metal E. Okay. These look good, but when you touch them, they feel very, very PVC. Okay. Even the little doorknob. Wow, very nice. Okay, let's come to the front. Alright. Okay. There we go. That's the door panel. Weirdly, there's no full length door bin, and in terms of the finishing down here, is not the level of quality of a 5 Series, and this thing just doesn't feel upmarket enough, to be honest. This panel with the little pattern there just feels like one dark plastic. Okay, but these are nice. The leather stitching is nice, the wood paneling is nice, it's very plush, it's nice. Okay, but it's just, I mean, if the speakers are here, then it's alright, but no, it's not. Anyway, let's not nitpick that much. Let's have a look at the interior. This is the new design language of Lexus interiors, and they have that bullhorn thing, this which started from the LFA, if I don't remember wrongly, and then it is now in the LC500, in the LS, right? So they have this thing there. Okay, so that's the interior of the ES500. What 500? I'm sorry, ES250. Okay, there are still very, very Japanese things going on here. You see the whole interior is like, wow, that's nice design, but then you see this panel, right? And then you see these buttons. These are the things that weirdly Japanese car makers always left out in their cars. They may have spent a lot of time designing this door handle, this elaborate door handle, and then they just slap on one of these from their parts bin, slap on one of these from their parts bin, and these from their parts bin as well. And then these buttons, I'm sure they exist somewhere else, because they don't look like they belong in this nicely designed interior. So that's the thing with Japanese. Sometimes they want to do something like that, but when it comes to these, they're like, okay, let's just put that in and that's it, you know. And it's just weird. You have square buttons here, you have rounded metallic buttons here, and it's just not cohesive. And this is again the same type of things that always bug people who came from other European luxury brands. Like, I give myself for example, right? I've owned a Mini, I have an Audi, I have an Audi S4, I had a Mini Clubman Cooper S, and then I currently have another BMW 640i Cabrio, and also a Volvo XC90 T8, right? So I have very good a comparison in terms of how these little design details should be done, and all these are all right. This doesn't reflect that of what a premium 300k car should design their buttonry. All right, the steering is all right. The steering is pretty all right, and this material is again used here is all right. It's fine, but this set of button is roughly the old cruise control type of buttons in today's cars, where you can do semi-autonomous driving. You just need to simplify this, don't need to use the old thing, one button for cancel. The cancel and the set can be the same button, right? And then plus minus is more self-explanatory if they are set aside, right? And then the speed limiter, all these things can be changed. Just look at how Volvo does it now. You get pedal shifters. These are metal pedal shifters. They feel cold to the touch. And then this one is a rather small LCD screen, which is I'm fine with that. It's Lexus's ideology when it comes to these. So in terms of how to change it, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. At least they have this. I can press this off. Okay, off the audio. All right, and then we come to the biggest problem: the infotainment screen. Okay, again, everybody said that the Lexus infotainment screen is just a mess, and the thing is this: they try to do something. I understand what they are trying to do. When you are, how certain selections snap into place when you're moving, like you're moving and then it snaps there. When it snaps, this thing would make a sound. See, it will snap in. So what it does is that it lets you know that you have arrived at a selection. Conceptual wise, it's all right, but in practical terms, it's just, and you see that little light there. See, as I move my finger, it corresponds with my finger. I'm sorry for the screen. It was altering between one lens and the other automatically, and then when I arrive here, it snaps in, and then it snaps. See, if it snaps in, you don't even need to allow me to range freely. Then I have to look for my mouse, right? And if it snaps in, why allow me to come up here? Well, I'll come up all the way here. You don't have to. Just make these selections available here in a big way to occupy the screen instead of hiding them here, right? So that's what I mean by in terms of interface. Then you are wondering why Japanese they did not improve their interface. I have this theory, the Japanese people, in one way, they're very scientific. Everything to them, you have to show them facts and figures, right? They only act on facts and figures. That's the first thing. The second thing is that Japanese consumers, right, has that Japanese mindset of trying to not trouble the others before you try your very best. So Japanese customers, they will try their very best to conquer this system, instead of like the Germans, where they will go up front and objectively argue and arrive at a better solution, But the Japanese people will just keep quiet and try their very best to use this, to understand this, so that they don't need to trouble the guy who's working at Lexus. And this is the problem. Japanese people will look at how many cars we sell, how many complaints so far, is it majority or minority? If it's a minority, we move on. However, majority who are okay with these systems is because the Japanese people don't complain. And that's why you have a very consistent result of Japanese stuffs being poor at user interface. You look at Lexus, you have a poor user interface. You look at a PS4, you have poor user interface. You look at Japanese websites that sells those recon cars or export cars, they have lousy websites, poor interface. It is consistent. You buy a Sony product, their bundled in software has poor software implementation. Why? Because Japanese consumers want to learn before they complain. That's the problem. And then some of the little detail stuff that I'm okay. This is nice. They have this compartment for you to slot your phone in, but it's not entirely carpeted. Just the bottom is carpeted. So when you have this little thing in place for you to put your phone still knocks around with the plastic panels. But of course, if your phone has a plastic cover, then that won't happen. And this thing just looks so aftermarket, you know. It just looked like afterthought. And I won't complain, but it's an eyesore. I can only say that it's an eyesore, even though I won't complain it. It's just very out of place. And then suddenly you have these two buttons over here. See, they could have designed these two buttons to integrate well with this, since they use this material to make buttons anyway. Look at these buttons, right? Look at the little lines there. It's made of the same material as this, but why not these buttons as well? That's the inconsistency I found in Japanese cars. And then you have this little thing here, rather elaborate. You can put a deep bottle, long bottle here, and then you press this thing comes out for a shorter one. It's alright, but they could have just made a simpler cup holder over here too, you know. It would have been just fine. You get a nice rubberized wireless Qi charging mechanism here, and a rather deep compartment console. And of course you have some card holders over here, and then you get a nice visor, and then you get a sunroof. Overall, it's a different proposition compared to, you get heads-up display as well. Okay, overall it is a different proposition from the 5 Series and E-Class, right? It doesn't have a very powerful engine, but it's enough. You can use it, you can drive it smoothly. It will be reliable, it will be fuel saving, and Lexus has that Teutonic, again, reliability, indestructibility, right? So you know that you buy this car, you can use it day in and out, you know, and without the need to unnecessarily go back to the service center. And then you can use everything, even though some of the things might not be as perfect as the others. Okay, so yep, that's my detailed review of the Lexus ES. Yeah, anything else you want to know, please comment, and subscribe my channel if you like it. I've reviewed 1,000 cars in the past 3 years, so you can roughly find all the cars that are being sold over the past 3 years in my channel. Alright, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.